People were leaving from every corner of our state to go to places like Pennsylvania and Virginia, North Carolina and Florida. Our state had reached a point of real desperation. We needed to do some radical things differently. Dug out of the hole. Now we have to move the state and its people forward. Because I believe that if we give you some economic relief to help support your families, to put food on the table, if we can make our education system better for everyone, if we can change our criminal justice system, then we're going towards a place we can be proud of. Sometimes you may look at me and think I'm spoiling for a fight. Not all the time. But I tell you this, I'm going to fight for the things that are worth fighting for. My mother used to tell me all the time, Christopher, be yourself. Because if you are, then you're not going to have to worry tomorrow about remembering who you pretended to be yesterday. So ladies and gentlemen, this is it. What you see is what you get.
Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Christie.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming this morning. Appreciate it. Great crowd here in Mahwah. Got a chance to chat briefly with the mayor before he came. Well, we love you too. Thank you. And I'm thrilled to be here. I believe this is now my 88th town hall meeting since I've been governor. And let me tell you why I do them. When you become governor, and when you're running for governor, let's start there. When you're running for governor and you're the challenger, you know, you don't really understand exactly how your life will change if you win. You're not really focused on that part of it. You're just focused on trying to run the best campaign you can and try to win. It becomes really clear to you immediately after the networks say you won. I was in a hotel room in Parsippany, New Jersey, and I was in the bedroom and I heard a whole bunch of friends out in the living room, and I heard a whole bunch of screaming. And Mary Pat and I were in there. We walked out, and they said they just called the race for you. I went down to go see the woman who was now going to be the lieutenant governor-elect. She was in a hotel room down the hall, and I went to walk out the door, and there were 4 troopers standing at the door. They said, "Yes, sir." New experience. And I said, "Well, I'm just going to go down the hall to see Kim." And they said, "Uh-huh." So I turned and they all followed me. Your life becomes completely different. What happens is you wind up traveling in those black Suburbans with the darked out windows. You're never alone, ever alone. I think really the only time I'm ever alone in any particular day is in the shower. Other than that, I am never alone. Like Saturday mornings, when you go to do some of the errands that we all do on Saturday mornings, go to the dry cleaners, go to the deli, go to the bank, all those things you try to get done on Saturday morning. And for me, that used to be kind of like my little respite time. I'd go by myself. I have 4 children, and so, this would be my moment to have like an hour and a half alone. I'd get in my car, I'd drive all over these places and roll the windows down, play the music loud, sing. You can only imagine what that's like. And no more. No more. When I go out for my errands, it's, me and 3 troopers and 2 Suburbans, Whenever I travel any place, I always come in the back door. I came in the back door here today. I go through more kitchens than you'll ever walk through in your entire life. And then all of a sudden you go through a couple of dark hallways and you walk out and there's 500 people in front of you. And you walk right back out the same way. I tell you all this not by way of complaint. It's the reality of the life that you have in today's society when you're in high elected office. But I tell you, so you can understand kind of the bubble, which is what they call it, the bubble that I live in. And so it's really difficult for me to get in touch with the people who voted for me. the people who live here, the people who are affected by the policies that I'm pursuing. And so in the beginning of the administration, we came up with this idea that it would be a way for me to get out all over the state, all the different regions. I've been to 20 of our 21 counties. I swear Salem County, I'm coming. It's a long way down there though. So, but we'll get there. And, you know, it allows me to get in touch and hear from all of you in an unfiltered way. And so that's why I do them, because it helps to keep me in touch with the people who I'm serving every day. And so the fact that, you know, 600 of you are here this morning, you know, at 11:15 in the morning on a Wednesday morning means a great deal to me. It's a great favor to me for you to be here, and it's a great testament to how much you care about our state, that you would actually spend your time to come here. And we got big things to talk about. Now, I will tell you that we had a board up that used to be over there for about the last 3 weeks that was counting down the number of days for the legislature to give you tax relief. And we took it down because the legislature has now made clear they have no intention of giving you tax relief. No intention. And you know, this is a disappointment for me in one respect, because you know, I proposed in January to cut income tax rates across the board by 10% in my State of the State address, and then I presented a budget in February that showed you could do that and balance our budget without raising taxes on anyone. And all spring, these Democrats, they were telling us that, you know, they were gonna pass a tax cut too. It's gonna be different than mine, but that they were committed to cutting taxes also. You may have read about this, and all through the spring, it's gonna be which tax cut plan was gonna be adopted, mine or theirs. Finally, you know, I got to May and June, and I said to myself, you know, what matters more to me is not that I win, but it's that you win. So, I reached out my hand and compromised, and I said, okay, if you really think your tax cut plan is better, I don't, but if you do, we gotta get people and businesses in this state some tax relief. They've had their taxes been going up and up and up for a decade. We gotta do it, so I'll sign on to your plan. I'll support your plan. And in the spirit of compromise, I extended my hand that way. And you know what happened this week? They slapped my hand right back. They acted like Washington politicians. We all know what's happening in Washington right now. It's disgraceful. Both parties. They don't talk with each other, they talk at each other. They send out press releases and hold press conferences, just putting out their spin and forgetting that you sent them there to do a job for our country. And the way I've tried to conduct myself for the last 2.5 years is pretty simple. You people have a great sense of humor. You elected a Republican governor and gave me a Democratic legislature. And I think you did it just to kind of see what would happen. Well, I think some of you may be surprised by what happened, because I believe that when you're elected governor, when you're elected president, when you're in an executive position, it's your job to get things done. It's your job to make sure you fight to get things done. Not to just say which committee has the bill and who voted on this the first time, or I was before it before I was against it, you know, all those things that people in legislatures say. You elect a governor to get things done. And so the philosophy I've taken is this, that there is always a boulevard that exists between compromising your principles and getting everything that you want. I long ago gave up the ghost on getting everything I want. Not just from the state legislature, but in my own house. I mean, I know. I've got 4 kids between 8 and 18. I have a 16-year-old daughter. Pray for me. I don't get everything I want. I don't even get close. And I do less well in the legislature. But what I decided to do is to reach out to Democrats and say, listen, there is a boulevard between getting everything we want and compromising our principles. I would never ask anybody to compromise their principles, a Republican or a Democrat. They run based on those principles, and you want them to stand up for them. But you gotta know you're not gonna get everything you want. So that boulevard sometimes is narrower, sometimes it's broader, depending upon the issue. but it is always there. And so my job has been to try to navigate our car of state onto that boulevard so it goes down the road and makes progress for you. And whether it was balancing two budgets without tax increases, a 2% property tax cap, reforming the interest arbitration system, $132 billion of pension and benefit reform. Any of those big things that we've gotten done in the last 2.5 years have all been the subject of compromise. They've all been bipartisan. They've all been because the legislatures believed, at least the leaders have, as I have, that we have a job to do here and we can't be like Washington politicians. They believed that up until about a week ago. And now they've decided that partisan politics is more important than your personal interests. The partisan politics is more important than what the public has a right to. You see, we do have two very different principles on this, and maybe they can't be resolved, and maybe they have to be resolved by all of you in the next election. But here are the two principles. Let me lay them out for you. First, you have mine. My principle on this issue is this, that New Jersey is the most overtaxed state in America. That we have the highest property taxes in America. That we are in the top 5 in income tax in America. That we are in the top 10 in corporate business tax in America. That we are in the top 10 in sales tax in America. And it just seems to me that after the last 2.5 years, where we have all sacrificed to deal with this economic crisis, both in our own homes and in government, because you'll remember that first year of my budgets, I had to make sure we balanced $13 billion worth of deficits in the first 6 months we were on the job. And we did it without raising taxes because we felt like you've sacrificed enough and we had to make government smaller. And so what are my other principles? That government is too big. And so what have we done about that? Well, there are less employees on the state payroll today than when Christie Whitman left office in January of 2001. We've made government smaller and it's still working for you. So when we make these sacrifices, it's time, once we start to feel the comeback of our state happening and we can feel it, then it is time for us to make sure that you get some of your money back. Because here's the principle. I believe you know how to spend your money better than Trenton does. It's that simple. And here's what I believe are the Democrats' principles. They believe that government knows how to spend your money better than you do. They believe government should be bigger. That government is the solution to every problem in every household across this state. That they believe, as one Democratic leader said, you know, dealing with these tax cuts is like dealing with kids, he said. He says, like dealing with kids. We'll put the chocolate chip cookies on the table, but you only get them when you're good. Now imagine the arrogance of that statement. It's your money to begin with. And he's going to decide, the Democrats are going to decide when you all have been good enough to deserve to keep some more of your money. See, that's a fundamental difference. And it manifests itself in the way this state was run for the 8 years before I got here. Remember, there's 115 tax and fee increases in the 8 years before I became governor. On the state level, listen to that now, because these numbers can get mind-numbing, but I'm going to make it really simple for you. 115 tax and fee increases in the 8 years before I became governor at the state level. That means a tax and fee increase every 25 days for 8 years. Every 25 days for 8 years, they reached into your pocket and took more money out to bring to Trenton. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what they stand for. My mother used to say to me all the time, Christopher, actions speak louder than words. You can tell me all you want, but show me by your behavior. Actions speak louder than words. 25 days. Every 25 days for 8 years, they went into your pocket. And so now I've been governor for 891 days, but who's counting? And For 891 days, I've vetoed 2 income tax increases that they proposed. I told them no, don't even consider your $2.4 billion gas tax increase that they introduced in the legislature and wanted to push through. You know, by the way, the gas tax, the only place where we're at the bottom in terms of taxes. And see, so this is what happens. They feel bad. I mean, we're top 5 in income tax and sales tax, and top 10 in corporate business tax, and number 1 in property taxes. They feel like you should be in the top 5 for everything. So they want to raise your gas tax 24 cents a gallon. And I said to them, no, thank you. We'll take a pass on that one. Every 25 days for 8 years. So after 891 days, you can hardly imagine. These folks are addicted to tax increases. They're addicted to them. So you know what it's like when someone's addicted to something and you don't get it for 891 days. They're on the floor. They're sweating. They're twitching. They need it bad. So what did they do this week? They passed an $800 million income tax increase and said no to cutting taxes for anybody. Now, listen, I've said to you many times, and I said on the video, you know, I'm going to fight the fights that are worth fighting. I'm not spoiling for a fight every day. I'm really not. But, you know, I fought to get this job in 2009 because I wanted to make a difference in our state, because I wanted to change the direction of our state, because I felt, as you did, that our state was off desperately on the wrong track and needed to be changed. And I thought when you elected me in 2009 that we did away with a certain type of Democrat. I thought we drove the wooden stake through the heart of this type of Democrat, and that you had sent a very clear message that this is not the type of Democrat you wanted haunting the halls of Trenton anymore. But I come to you today in Mahwah from Trenton with grievous news. They're back. They're back. And you know what kind of Democrats I'm talking about, right? Yeah, Corzine Democrats. The Corzine Democrats are back, everybody. John Corzine ran this state into a bridge abutment. And then he went back to Wall Street and did exactly the same thing. We know the type of leadership or lack of leadership that he and his colleagues provided to this state over the time they were here. More tax increases, nearly $9 billion in tax increases while he was governor. We can't take it anymore. And so now's the time to have a fight, everybody. And this summer is going to be fight time. It's going to be fight time this summer. So they passed the budget. They passed the budget and they larded it up with more spending that I didn't authorize. And they say we don't have enough money to cut your taxes, but we have enough money to add hundreds of millions of dollars in additional spending. That's what I don't get. You see, this is the difference between me and the Corzine Democrats. I define being fiscally responsible as balancing the budget without raising taxes and then cutting taxes to give more of your money back to you once we've balanced our budget. They determine and say fiscal responsibility is raising the income tax, not cutting your taxes, and spending even more money than they did last year. Two different visions of government, everybody. And I thought you sent a clear message in 2009. You couldn't have had a more stark choice for governor than me and John Corzine. You couldn't find 2 more different people. If John Corzine were standing up here right now talking to you, I guarantee you, it's been 15 minutes, you would be dazed and confused. You wouldn't know what the heck he was talking about or what he meant. And that was 4 years of that we had. You may not agree with me all the time, but you never have to wonder what I'm saying. I am pretty clear and I'm pretty direct. And some people agree with it and some people don't. I'm not looking to win a popularity contest. You didn't elect me prom king, okay? You elected me governor to make decisions for a state that was troubled and broke and despondent. And so I made another decision I want to inform everybody in Mahwah about. This summer, I'm going on tour. Now, it won't be as exciting as Bruce Springsteen's tour this summer, I guarantee you. But it might be almost as entertaining, because I'm going on the Corzine Democrats tour. This is what we're going to do this summer, because I didn't have anything to do this summer anyway. You know, so here's what I'm going to do this summer. This summer, we're going to travel all over this state. And we're going to demand that the Corzine Democrats explain to you why they're holding your tax cut hostage. Because that's what they're doing. And we're going to keep count, starting tomorrow, of how many days they're holding your tax cut hostage. Because when they go out of session tomorrow, they're not coming back for a while. So the clock will start. And we'll get a new sign back here that instead of the days ticking down, the days are going to be ticking up. How many days have they been holding your tax cut hostage in Trenton? Because I guarantee you, there's money down there to give you your money back. They want to keep it and they want to spend it. And the only person who stands in between that is the thing that personifies the numbers game in Trenton. There's only 3 numbers that really matter in Trenton: 41, 21, and 1. 41 is the number of votes you need to pass a bill in the Assembly. 21 is the number of votes you need to pass it in the Senate. And behold, numero uno. You need the governor to give permission to spend that money. Well, I'm not giving it. Okay, I'm not giving it. However, as much as I would like it to be different, I can't do the tax cut by myself. I need that 41 and 21 to do the tax cut. And so we're going to tour this summer all over the state. And we're going to ask them, when are you going to release the tax cut? When are you going to give the people some of their money back? When are you going to help to throw fuel on the New Jersey comeback? And that fuel will be getting more money in your hands so you can spend it, or you can invest it, or you can save it for your kids' college education, or you can help to pay your mortgage, or put food on the table for your family. It's not doing that down in Trenton. And let me guarantee you one thing after being there for 2.5 years. The only way for you to make sure we don't waste your money in Trenton is don't send it to us in the first place. That's the only way to do it. So to be the Corzine Democrats tour, I hate to bring his name back up. I know it for many of you, it's bad memories. But you know what? They're back. They're back and they're doing stuff that is just irresponsible for this state. And don't let them fool you, by the way. You've seen over and over again that I've been willing to work with Democrats. When Democrats are willing to be reasonable and compromise, I've done it over and over and over again. And I'll sign a bunch of bills in the next couple of weeks that they'll pass tomorrow on important issues that are all the subject and work of compromise. But there's all because we found our way onto the boulevard of compromise. On this one, they're asking me to compromise my principles. They're saying I should raise taxes on the most overtaxed people in America. I won't. They're saying that we should keep money in Trenton that we don't need, that can be better spent and saved by you and your families. I won't compromise on that. So here's the bottom line. I'm happy to compromise with these folks every time it's reasonable to do so. But when they ask me to compromise my principles, when they ask me to take more money out of your pocket, and they demand that I not give any of it back to you at all, well, that's where I draw the line. The line is drawn in the sand, everybody. This is it. And some people have asked me, how can they help? How can they help? Well, I'll make it real simple for you. I hope that many of you in this room will be spending some time at the Jersey Shore this summer. I hope you will. You know, I know it's kind of a long way from Mahwah to get down to the Jersey Shore, but you don't want to go to New York for vacation. Goodness sakes, I don't want to hear any of you people going up to those lakes in New York. Don't you do it. If I find out, I'm going to be really angry. Don't you go up there, spend your money in Andrew Cuomo's state? How dare you? We want you to go to the Jersey Shore. Every weekend so far this summer has been a beautiful weekend. Everything's going well. And after July 1st, the people in Trenton are free to go to the Jersey Shore also. They'll be off work. Not me, of course, but your 120 members of your state legislature. All be off work come July 1st. And they may be heading to the shore. See Bob Schroeder over there? I know he'll be at the shore. I've seen Bob at the shore. So I know he'll be there and others will be there too. This is not intended for Bob Schroeder. Because Bob Schroeder is going to vote the right way and do the right thing. But if any of you go to the shore and you see one of those Democratic legislators, one of those Corzine Democrats, no sunscreen on them, sitting in one of those chairs, reading a book, a newspaper, comic book, whatever they're up to. When you see them doing that, I'm going to license all of you to use a phrase that I used last August towards some of my friends in Asbury Park. You remember when Hurricane Irene was coming at us? And I very politely and nicely asked people to evacuate from the shore. And then I was watching CNN at the Emergency Operations Center and saw a bunch of knuckleheads on the beach in Asbury Park slathering sunscreen on themselves, building, sand castles, and grabbing their surfboards to go into the ocean. And I got a little angry. So I went down to do my press conference, and I said, listen, for all you people in Asbury Park, get the hell off the beach. Now, lots of people heard that, and guess what? Good news is, they got the hell off the beach. It worked. So maybe it can work this summer. So if you see these Corzine Democrats on the beach, I want you to go up to them, and I want you to say, I am here on behalf of our governor. Get the hell off the beach and get back to Trenton and vote my tax cut right now. I'm looking at you out there. Some of you could be very persuasive, I think. And I need your help to do it. Because we're not going to win this without a fight. Not going to win it without a fight. And we're not going to move this state in the right direction without winning that fight. Because we can't be competitive with New York and Pennsylvania and Delaware and Connecticut if our taxes continue to be higher than theirs. Businesses will locate in other states. Businesses will expand in other states. And like what happened between 2004 and 2008, in the heart of the McGreevey, Cody, Corzine years, $70 billion of wealth left our state in those 4 years, all to go to lower tax states. We can't let that happen again. We can't diminish New Jersey anymore. The New Jersey comeback has begun, and we need to throw fuel on that comeback, and this tax cut will do that. And so it's time. It's not only fair and right that you get some of your money back, but it's smart economics too. And so I need your help, and that's why I came up here today. And I want to tell you, here in Mahwah, we're trying to dig things a little bit better with the policies we're pursuing. And I'll just be parochial for those of you who live in Mahwah just for 1 minute. We changed around the school aid formula just a little bit this year. I want to do it a lot more. If you give me a better Supreme Court, I'll be able to. But we increased education aid here in Mahwah this year by 22%. That's over $400,000 more. Over $400,000 more in school aid here in Mahwah that you don't have to take out of your property taxes that the state is sending to you from the income tax. And because of the pension and benefit changes I talked about, they're going to save $132 billion over the next 30 years. What did they do in Mahwah this year? Well, for your public employees who are in that system, your contribution is down 5% this year. And your contribution to the police and fire retirement system is down 25%. That means between all of those different savings that you had $1 million less this year in property taxes you had to pay here in Mahwah. $1 million less between the increased school aid and the decreased contributions you had to make to the pension system. Our reforms are working, and they're working town by town. And so I need your help. And that's why I came here. Because I know that you know that the only way to win this battle over taxes in New Jersey is for us to get loud. And I know you know that I'm reluctant to do that. You know, I'm a shy, retiring type that, you know, trying to find my voice. I'm gonna do the best I can. I need your help, though, to do it. I need your help to help me to move these guys and women down in the legislature who are still stuck in the last decade, who still believe that higher and higher taxes, more and more spending, more and more borrowing will somehow lead to prosperity. What it's leading to is tougher and tougher times for our state. You know that from your own house. This is not complicated. And that's the other trick that politicians will try to play with you, that they try to make it so complicated. It's not that complicated. We have a budget to balance. We have priorities to set. We can't spend more than we take in. And we're much better off giving money back to you than we are hoarding it down in Trenton and spending it on something. So that's the fight for this summer. So now we get to the fun part of the program. The fun part of the program is for you to ask me questions and I get to answer them. 4 rules to the Christie Town Hall meetings. I see a number of you here who have been to town hall meetings before, so bear with me. You've heard these before, so hang in there with me. We, of course, lovingly call these people repeat offenders. They've been to town hall meetings before, but here we are. Here are the 4 rules. Rule number 1, you raise your hand, I call on you. Please do not yell questions out. I won't answer yelled out questions. Let's be polite. Rule number 2, don't start asking your question until one of my folks gets you with a microphone. Because there's 600 people in here today, and there's air circulating around, and it'll be hard for people to hear. I want everybody to hear your question, and I want to hear it too. And please tell me your name and where you're from, so I can address you by your name rather than like, hey, you in the green shirt. Much nicer. Rule number 3 is less a rule and more some advice. When you get this microphone in your hand, you will feel an indescribable, but undeniable, gravitational pull to give a speech. Take my word for it, it happens, and that's okay, I understand. I understand, I'll listen to your speech for a while, but since we do have 600 people here today, I'd like to get to as many questions as I can, and the longer you give a speech, the less time I have for questions. So, I may at one point just say to you, oh, okay, I get it, what's your question? I'm not trying to be rude, I just want to give everybody a chance to be able to ask a question. Last rule is this. For those of you who haven't been here before, you may have seen excerpts of previous town hall meetings on the news or on YouTube over the internet, and you may have seen some of my more colorful interactions with my constituents. Well, don't be scared. Here's the thing. I'm sure there are people here today who disagree with me on one or more topics, and that's great. And if I call on you and you want to disagree with me on something, I welcome it. That's fine. And if you do so in a reasonable and respectful way, I will give you a reasonable and respectful disagreement in response. However, if today is the day, because we got all these cameras here, you decide you want to show off. If today is the day you decide you want to take the governor of New Jersey out for a walk, and I think you know what I mean, then I must remind you that we are all from New Jersey. And what that means is, if you give it, you are getting it right back. So those are the rules of engagement. Let's get going. All right. Now, everybody uses different methods to try to be called upon. The woman in the back is using one of the tried and true methods. She's raising both her hands. Do you have 2 different questions with both of those hands, or is it both the same question? One question. Good, hold on. I'm calling on you, and you're getting the microphone. The 2-arm attempt. Very good.
Patty Nazaro from Saddle River.
Okay.
And I appreciate you coming here. I love having you do your town halls. I do have to say that even though Mayor Cory Booker had saved that motor vehicle assistance person a couple of weeks ago, I think you're outdoing him by saving everybody in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you. tell him that.
And I also just wanted to say as well, too, that I like your straight talk, because when you talk straight to us, it shows you respect us, and in turn, we respect you.
Thank you.
But I do have a question.
Fire away.
I'm a small business owner, and because of the economy in 2009, 10, and 11, I was struggling. I have property that my father left, commercial property, small little place, but the utility company kept charging me the same rate that a tenant was there previously was using. So for the 7 or 8 months that it was vacant, the utility company charged me $33,000 for 247 kilowatts. Now, I don't know if you look at your electricity bill at home, but normally on a home, it's like 3,000 kilowatts a month, give or take. But it's excessive. And I finally, thanks to Assemblywoman Shapizi, has put me in contact with somebody that I could work this out. But their policies are that every June 1st, all the utility companies go to a secret, undisclosed location and fill out their needs for their capacity and transmission bills. That's the delivery part. But then they also have a policy that if you have a meter, no matter who's there, whose name's on the account, whatever was the previous year stays that way. And to me, it's overcharging. And it's, I still owe them money, but to me, it's close to bankrupting me for such little usage for an excessive amount. Fair is fair. I'll pay what I owe. But just because a previous person was using a lot of utility, a lot of electricity, why should I be having to pay that same amount? And to me, I didn't know if you were aware of practices like that, but I think it's unfair.
I wasn't. That's one of the reasons why I love these things, because I find out stuff all the time that I don't know. I tell people all the time, one of the scariest things about this job is that I have 60,000 people who every day have letterhead with my name on it and are doing things that I have absolutely no idea they're doing and allowing to have happen. Who did Holly put you in touch with to talk to?
There is a woman at I didn't want to really mention, but it's PSE&G that I deal with, and she put me involved with customer service by a wonderful lady by the name of Chandra. I had for about a year been calling 3-4 times a month, getting a different answer, went to the Board of Public Utilities. They sent me to somebody. I faxed over my information and all my concerns, never heard back. Called again, never heard back.
Well, here's what we're going to do. You see the woman standing right behind you? That's Jean Ashmore. She's the head of our constituent relations office in the governor's office. She's going to give you her card. You're going to send all that stuff you sent to the BPU to her, and then I'm going to ask the BPU, and I suspect they'll answer my question since I appoint them. So,
thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
You give that to Jean.
Thank you.
All right?
I appreciate it very much.
Don't you worry about it, and then Jean will get back to you with some answers on it, or someone from the BPU, either one. Thanks for raising the issue. I appreciate it. Yes, sir, right up here. Right here, AJ.
First of all, Governor, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the people in New Jersey. I've been a long time in New Jersey all my life, and I just want to say thank you. We love you, okay? My second point would be interestingly, about not passing the budget and giving money back to the state, rather, to the people. I saw where your friend, Senator Sarlo, post that he would be giving some money back to the people, but later on. So I guess that's a way of throwing you under the bus, I might say.
Yeah, well, listen, but do you believe them?
I know Paul very...
Do you believe these people? I mean, you can't believe Paul Sarlo from God's sake. Come on, seriously.
I used to work with Paul Sarlo.
Right, so listen, you can't believe Paul Sarlo. Here's not because he's Paul Sarlo, but because he's one of the core side Democrats.
Exactly.
They raise your taxes 115 times in 8 years, and now they tell you, like the old cartoon character Wimpy, I'd be happy to pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today, right? That's what they're telling you. They say, listen, I'll give you the tax cut in January, I swear, and I'm telling you, I'll bet you every dollar in your pocket. And this guy he's dressed pretty well. I might be in deep here. I'll bet you every dollar in your pocket that January's going to come, and they're going to have another excuse as to why they can't do it.
Exactly. But here's my question.
Yeah.
It's not a question, it's a point. Yesterday, Hoffman and Roach announced that they were going to be moving out of the state of New Jersey.
Yep.
Does the governor's office, the state, have a plan to try to keep people like that here? This will be a traumatic impact on Passaic, Bergen counties. I mean, 1,000 people and actually a company that's been here since the mid-1920s.
Yep.
So my point is we need to do something about that.
Now listen, and we've worked really hard. If you look at the number of companies that we have number of companies that we have been able to retain here, it's been pretty significant since we got here. And we're using economic incentives and competing with other states that are giving them economic incentives. Roche made the determination that despite the fact that we offered them a very significant package of incentives, that they were going to do much better in another state. This is part of the problem. I'm running uphill on this stuff, everybody, because in the end, our tax rates are too high. They're just too high. And so I can give tax incentives to companies, but in the end they say, yeah, but our employees still pay these rates. And when if they want to expand here, they got to take people from other states and bring them here. These people say, I don't want to come here and pay these taxes. Think about Pennsylvania, for instance. Our top tax rate is 9%. Pennsylvania's is 3.05. All right? So if you're down in central or southern New Jersey, and you're a business, and you have a choice about whether to locate in a state where the top rate's 9% or the top rate's 3.05%, you will have these coarse-eyed Democrats tell you that's not how people make decisions. Well, I don't know which people they're talking to. The people I talk to, 6% is a big difference. And for most businesses, that consumes your whole margin. I'm sure that lady I just spoke to back here, right? And she's running a small business. 6% would probably eat up every bit of profit margin that she has, or add to it if she could go to a state where 6% less was the taxes. So we're doing everything we can with tax incentives to try to stem the tide of getting people to leave. And the good news is that New Jersey's added nearly 85,000 new private sector jobs since I've been governor, compared to 117,000 that we lost in the year before I became governor. So we're doing better, but the lieutenant governor spent a lot of time with Roche trying to convince them to stay. They had pretty much made up their mind. No matter what we offered them, they were going to go. I'm sad about it too, because from the time I was a kid, I remember that building right there on Route 3, and what it represented. We hate losing folks like that. But I also have to tell you that I can only give tax incentives to the point where there's a net benefit to the public. I can't give away the store and keeping the jobs, but getting less taxes in. It doesn't make sense. So we're trying to balance those things. And most of the time we've been successful. We've kept companies like BASF and Honeywell and Dwight and Church and Dwight and a number of other companies that have decided to stay here in New Jersey because of the incentives we've offered them. But we're going to lose one every once in a while if we continue to have these tax rates where they are. And that's why, Paul Sarlo says, I'll get to it in January. Well, Roche is not waiting until January. They're leaving now. And so Paul can wait till January, but Roche didn't. And I wonder what Paul has to say about that in Bergen and Passaic counties, which he's supposed to be standing up for and representing. It doesn't make any sense to me, but because here's why. They care more about the special interests that feed at the trough of the public budget down there than they care about keeping jobs in this state and giving people more money. That's why I'm having this fight. You put your finger right on it. That's why I'm having the fight for everybody. Yes, ma'am, right there. Yep.
Thank you, Governor. I do not feel powerful with this microphone. I'm very nervous, I wrote it out.
Don't be nervous. It's fine.
Governor Christie, my name is Janet Hill, and I own and live in an affordable housing unit here in Mahwah. When these units were built about 25 years ago, there was a purchase provision in the contract that after 25 years, the units would revert to market prices, allowing owners to sell at market, not at affordable price. I and others have repeatedly asked the Housing Commission and are being told that the revisions is being fought in court by Mahwah. We cannot get any answers whether the revision will take place or not. I cannot plan my retirement, which I really need, not knowing what is going to occur. Why is that? I cannot get a straight and decisive answer, and can you help?
Well, the answer is maybe, and here's the reason why. I suspect, although I don't know the specific instance of Mahwah, but this is happening in a bunch of places in the state, that because the affordable housing law is so messed up, it's being fought in court all the time. And so lots of towns are in limbo over what the rules are going to be and how they should apply the rules and how they're going to work for folks like you who already own units and other people who are looking to buy units in the future. And this is why I've been trying for 2.5 years to get legislation passed to get rid of the Council on Affordable Housing and all these crazy rules that COA puts up that is doing nothing but costing us money and not building affordable housing. We got passed through the Senate twice, and the State Assembly refuses to move on it. And so I'll try, if you give a card, we'll try to figure out what your individual situation is. We'll try to give you an answer, but that's why I can only give you a maybe. Because my guess is that all this stuff is pending in court. This is going up to the New Jersey Supreme Court this year. The general question of COA and affordable housing is going up to the New Jersey Supreme Court this coming year. And I think that's when it'll get resolved. But yours might be different, so I don't want to jump to conclusions. But if you give all your information, email it to our guys, we'll get an answer to you and let you know. It may be an unsatisfying answer, but I'll get you some kind of answer, okay? Good. Back here, yes, sir.
Good morning, Governor, and thank you for coming to Mahwah. My name is Ed Bennett. I'm a resident of this area and with the New Jersey State Elks Association. The New Jersey Elks are leading in the forefront of veteran services in this state. But I have to tell you, I have a stone in my shoe.
Okay.
There are over 8,300 veterans in this state alone that were homeless last night. It's a disgrace to us as New Jerseyans, as well as a national disgrace. No one who ever wore the uniform of the United States should be homeless. But we're leading the way, but everybody needs to be involved. We need a plan. We need a task force. We can do better, sir. We must. And I'd like to know what we can do to help this. Thank you.
We've already done some things, and here's what we've done. When I decided to close the Hagedorn Psychiatric Hospital up in North Jersey because we had overcapacity in our psychiatric hospitals across the state, I made the decision to convert that into Veteran Haven North. Now, we've had Veterans Haven in the southern part of our state. Now we have Veterans Haven North. So Hagedorn Psychiatric Hospital is being turned into a place, transitional housing for homeless veterans exclusively. And in addition, we've established a partnership with Freedom House that's on the campus of Hagedorn, which is a drug and alcohol treatment facility, because as you know, many of our homeless vets also have problems with drug and alcohol addiction. For those who do, we're also going to provide for them free of charge drug and alcohol treatment at Freedom House in an agreement that the state has signed with Freedom House to do that. Now, it's not going to put all 8,300 homeless vets that you talked about being homeless last night into housing overnight, but it's going to take care of a good number of them, and we're going to have to continue to look for more ways to deal with it. One of the few areas, in fact, one of the only areas that I haven't cut since I've been governor is military and veterans affairs. And the reason for that is the underlying premise of your statement, which is that those people who've worn the uniform of this country and defended us deserve a different level of treatment and care. We're not doing as well as we should. I think with the opening of Veterans Haven North, we're doing better than previous administrations have done in addressing this issue, because it's an uncomfortable issue for some people to talk about out loud, but the only thing more uncomfortable is allowing these men and women to sleep on our streets across our city and across our state and be in danger. So we're happy to work with the Elks and other organizations who I know are deeply involved in this, along with our veteran service organizations like the American Legion, the VFW, and all of the others. And so I appreciate you standing up and speaking out about it. Veteran Haven North is going to help, I think, in the short term. And in the long term, we need to deal with the underlying problems, which I think are the mental health issues that a lot of these vets come home with that we're ignoring as a country. These folks are in warfare. And then we ask them to come back and seamlessly convert back into a civilized society. And a lot of them are having problems. That's another reason why one of the things we've established now, too, is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline statewide at UMD&J, which is manned by healthcare professionals and veterans. And so if you're a vet and you're having mental health issues, there's a 24/7 hotline now. It wasn't around before I became governor, but is now, to be able to take care of and give them someone to talk to, and then set up an appointment for them to come in and see a professional to deal with it. I don't want to lose, the only thing more tragic is having them homeless is how many veterans we've lost to suicide. And that's the inexorable conclusion to this if we don't deal with the underlying mental health problems. That's why we're working with UMDNJ to try to make sure that that service is available, and now is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's why we also have veterans on that phone. Men and women who can relate to the experiences of the men and women that are on the other end of that phone. And that's why I'm trying to work with organizations like Welcome Back Veterans, that the owner of the Mets, Fred Wilpon, started, specifically to deal with the mental health issues that vets come home with, and to help their families as well, to be able to integrate. So we're working on a lot of things. We're not ignoring the problem, but you're absolutely right that having anybody homeless who's worn the country's uniform is unacceptable. We got to strive to do better, and I'm going to try to do that. Thank you for raising it, Ed. Appreciate it very much. Yep.
Hi, I'm Karen Levy. I'm from Mahwah.
Just put it a little closer to your mouth.
Hi. I'm Karen Levy. I'm from Mahwah. I reiterate the sentiments of that lady on the other end. I'm extremely nervous, so I've written down my question. My concern is about unemployment in the state. Last week, Mary Ellen Clark spoke to a group of Neighbors Helping Neighbors. I don't know if you've heard about it. And she put the number at 417,000 of unemployed New Jerseyans. She herself said that was not an accurate and true number, because they can't possibly know how many people are unemployed. So I'm wondering, first, what New Jersey can do to help get us back to work. And my second question sort of piggybacks on that, is when we do work, we pay through our payroll taxes, unemployment, we pay into the unemployment fund, correct?
Yep.
Yet when we need that compensation because we've lost jobs, we're then taxed again. And that's a concern for me as well.
Yeah, welcome to New Jersey.
Thank you.
We tax everything. I mean, listen, two things. First, you're right on the 417,000 number. That does not count people who've dropped out of the workforce, who just aren't working anymore. That's part of why our unemployment rate has stayed higher. It's good news in this sense, that more people are coming back into the workforce and are looking for jobs. People are more optimistic that they're going to be able to find a job. So when more people go looking for a job, it makes it even harder to bring the rate down, even though we've added 85,000 new private sector jobs since I've been governor. How are we going to fix the problem? The only way in my mind to fix the problem is to continue to set up circumstances where the private sector is going to want to invest here and grow jobs here. And that's why the tax policies that we pursue, the regulatory policies we pursue, and the investments that we make in terms of tax incentives are so important. We're being extraordinarily aggressive on tax incentives, and we're going to continue to be, because the best social program is getting somebody back to work. They feel good about themselves, and they bring home money to support their families, and they pay taxes rather than having taxes paid to them through unemployment insurance. Secondly, we've got to cut the tax rates in this state, as we've talked about already today, so I won't belabor that. Third, on the regulatory side, in our first year in office, the Lieutenant Governor led the task force on regulation. We cut regulations a third over the Corzine administration's last year. So we're trying to make it business friendlier here as well. Last part of it is to talk about the mood that we have to try to establish in the state. And the only way to do that is to change some of the circumstances that we have, and also be talking about our state in a much better way. I mean, I'm not trying to make something look sunny when it's not, but things are a heck of a lot better today than they were 3 years ago. And so are they getting better as quickly as we'd like? No, but they are better. And we've got to make sure we put these policies in place that'll make them continue to get better. On the unemployment insurance side of things, let me tell you, I came into office and we had, I think the number was $1.7 billion deficit in our unemployment insurance fund. Want to know why? Because during the decade before I became governor, previous governors stole from the unemployment insurance trust fund when the economy was good and we weren't paying a lot of unemployment. So we're $1.7 billion in debt to the federal government. So a lot of businesses just this past week got a notice saying they have to pay a higher fee into the unemployment insurance trust fund, and I've gotten a lot of calls as to why. Well, it's because previous governors stole the money from the trust fund. And now we've got to put that, we had to borrow money to pay people's unemployment claims from the federal government. And now we have to pay the federal government back. And so it's an endless kind of cycle that way. My commitment and what we got passed when I became governor was a constitutional amendment now to say we can never again steal from the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. It's now constitutional. You voted on it a couple of years ago because we believe that what was done was an absolute betrayal of the people because, as you said, you put the money in there. We create a rainy day fund, essentially, for the employees of this state, and then we stole from it. So, you know, it was another one of the problems that we confronted when we came in. And what I'm trying to do is reform that system to try to make it more cost effective. We've taken some small steps to get there, but we got more work to do. So in the end, things are trending positively for New Jersey. Last month, we added 17,600 new jobs. That was the best single month we've had in 7 years, since 2005. So things are moving in the right direction. But in the end, you know, it's like Ronald Reagan said, you know, I mean, it's a depression if you're out of work, you know? A recession's when your neighbor's out of work. It's a depression when you're out of work. So I know that until everybody who wants to get a job, or close to everybody who wants to get a job, can get a job, people are still not going to feel great about everything. But we're making progress. We're doing the best that we can with it. And we're going to continue to try to put these policies in place that make it a more business-friendly state. We make it a more business-friendly state. We've got great educated people in this state who are ready to work. We've got great infrastructure here. It's a great geographic location. It's a great quality of life. We have all those positives that even Trenton hasn't been able to screw up. So now we just have to fix the things we have screwed up so that we can get people growing here again. We've done it before. We did it in the 80s, we did it in the 90s, and we can do it again now, but we gotta, you know, do pro-growth policies of lower taxes, lower regulation, less spending, less borrowing, in order to make ourselves more attractive to the folks there. So thanks for your question. You got something else? When were they reported in the Bergen Record? Which ones? Right. She's talking about economic indicators. Yeah, listen, what they've said and what's been reported, you'll get all different kinds of economic indicators. You'll get, you know, the gross national product and how it applies to the state. Did we go up or did we go down? We were basically flat last year. But what we've seen already this year is that things are ticking up in the first almost 6 months now. That our job growth in 2011, we had the best job growth in the state since we've had since the year 2000. And 2012 is now outpacing 2011. In the end, the numbers to really look at is how many people are going back to work. All the rest of that stuff are kind of lagging indicators. People getting back to work will then start paying more in taxes. Then state tax revenues will go up. They'll start spending more money then you know, businesses will start going up more because money's being put back into the system. The real thing to look at is, are we adding private sector jobs or aren't we? We're continuing to. We had our best month last month. Hopefully we're going to get that to continue. When people get back to work, money in their pockets, less money coming out of the government till, and that's when things will really get going. So we're optimistic. All right? All right. Yes, ma'am. Green shirt. I got one person back there. Come on now. We'll get to you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Cheryl Karlick. I'm with Mahwah Environmental Volunteers Organization, as well as Environment New Jersey. And basically, hydraulic fracturing releases natural gases, but in the process creates wastewater, toxic wastewater. That's heavy, has heavy metals, benzene, and toxic pollutants in it. And while fracturing is not happening here, fracking is not happening here, the wastewater is being brought in by chemical companies like DuPont. So I'm here to ask you if you're going to sign the bill that was passed by the Senate 30-5 into law to ban fracking waste.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the bill yet and I haven't read it yet. I've read about it in the newspapers. My understanding is that it's been some time since any fracking wastewater has been brought into the state. And that hasn't happened for a number of months. But I'll look at the bill and decide what I'm going to do.
We're asking you, please, very nicely, to protect the people of New Jersey from
And I'm responding very nicely to you that when I read the bill, I'll decide whether I'm going to sign it or not. Unlike in Washington, I don't sign anything until I read it.
Right.
But What I will tell you is this. I think that, it doesn't help the credibility of the cause when the legislature passes ridiculous bills like banning fracking in New Jersey, when no one wants to frack in New Jersey, and we have no natural gas in New Jersey to be fracked. And so the idea of banning something that isn't happening is really just like political grandstanding. Now, the wastewater issue is a different issue, and I'll look at it as a different issue. But what happens is folks get politicians to put forward these bills to prevent something that isn't happening.
Well,
And
this
we
is the
don't-
wastewater
I
that's
understand
from
that, but
Pennsylvania that they're bringing in
I said to you,
Jersey.
the wastewater I will treat differently. I'll treat
Right.
that bill differently. But what I'm trying to tell you about the cause in general, the cause that you work for and are advocating for, I've also advocated for nonsensical bills like banning fracking in New Jersey, at which every environmental group supported, even though we don't frack in New Jersey, and we have no natural gas. Anybody wants to frack in New Jersey. And not one energy company has come here and said they wanted to frack in New Jersey, yet the legislature, to try to score cheap political points, says we're going to ban fracking in New Jersey. I mean, seriously. That's like saying, we're going to ban growing oranges in New Jersey. No, we don't grow oranges in New Jersey. Well, but if you ever try to, this law will ban you from doing it. So it diminishes, and it's my unsolicited advice to you, it diminishes the credibility of the cause when you also advocate for things that aren't even happening to just score political points. And so I'll look at this bill, I'll look at it very carefully, consider it carefully. I'll talk with the environmental groups, as I always do, and with business, and try to come to the appropriate conclusion. They're going to put probably anywhere between 70 and 80 bills on my desk starting tomorrow night. So we'll take our time, we'll read through all of them. I got 45 days to make decisions. I'm going to take my time. Please do not interpret, because I don't sign or veto something right away, that it means I'm either not going to sign it or I'm not going to veto it. Because I get those frantic calls all the time. It's the day after it passed. Why didn't he do something? Well, because I want to read it and I want to get advice from different people. I don't want to just make snap judgments. So I appreciate your hard work for the cause that you believe in. Appreciate you coming here and raising the issue. And you have my promise that I will look at that bill very carefully, and that if I think it makes sense, I'll sign it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A question from the moaning and complaining back.
No complaining from me, I promise. Thanks for coming. My name is Josh Wassman. I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey, a little bit south of here. We'd love to see you there, by the way. Changing the topic completely, any chance that we're going to see you on the vice presidential ticket for the upcoming election? I hope that doesn't annoy you.
Let's see. It's 12:15. I've been here for an hour. You people are slow. Mahwah is slow to get to this question compared to others in the town hall venue. Listen, I was with Governor Romney last night. Let me announce that he did not ask me last night to run for vice president while I was with him. Listen, I have absolutely no idea. My view has always been that I want to stay here and that I want to do this job, and I don't want to leave. But what I've also said is, if the nominee of your party calls and asks you to talk about that, you take the call and you listen, because you also have to care about your country, and listen to the guy who is one of two people who's going to be president of the United States for the next 4 years. So if Governor Romney calls and asks me, I'll listen. I don't expect to get the call. I don't expect to be asked. And I'll do whatever I can, as I have been since last October when I was the first governor in America to endorse him. I expect to continue to go out there and work hard for him and try to help him be elected president. But I don't think that that's going to be with me being as his running mate. I don't know any inside information. That's just my sense. I could wind up being surprised. He could wind up calling and asking me. But it would be a surprise to me if he called up and asked. Doesn't matter to me, though. I've got a great job that I love, I want to continue to do. And I'll continue to help him between now and November in any way that he thinks is appropriate to try to help him get elected president. So that's my answer on that one. Yes, ma'am, in the red, right there.
Hello, Governor, and thank you again for coming to Mahwah.
My pleasure.
I raised my children here, and then I moved to South Jersey. We're only slow in Mahwah because you didn't pick on me earlier. So I'm not going to ask you. I am going to say that I'm hoping and praying that once you have managed our state the way you're doing it, and you hand it off to someone who will continue with your theories and your ways of handling things, that you will consider running for president one day. But that isn't my question.
Thank you.
That's just my aside. I'm one of the ladies that have bugged you about invisible diseases. I have lupus, and you've kindly proclaimed May 10th as World Lupus Awareness Day and recognized it in New Jersey, and I thank you for the proclamation. I heard you say that you have 4 children between the ages of 8 and 18. My children were 4 children between the ages of 9 and 18. My son was a 16-year-old, the rest were girls, when my husband died suddenly. And I quickly learned that trying to raise 4 children and send them off to college with the taxes the way they are in this state is very, very difficult. My children are now 30 to 38. So they're grown and they have children of their own. I have a grandson that's going to be starting in this school. My question to you is, when you have someone who is disabled as I am and who is trying to raise 4 children on their own, have you ever considered a tax break for those people who are struggling?
I haven't, and let me tell you why. I think that the more we put into the tax code specific breaks for specific slices of people, we go down a road that ultimately isn't good for the whole society. I think we should lower taxes for everyone. And I think that whether you are faced with a disability or not, whether you have 4 children or 8 or 1 or none, that our taxes are too high and our government costs too much and it's too big and it borrows too much. And so I think that you've got 3 roads to choose from, right? You can have the road of the Corzine Democrats, which says, let's raise taxes, make government bigger, and government will take care of everybody. You have the road I'm trying to take, which is to say, let's lower taxes for everyone, let's lower spending, make government smaller. And then there's the middle road, which you kind of talk about, which is for government kind of to pick winners and losers. In the sense that if I think folks with your particular challenge deserve a tax break, I guarantee I'm going to have somebody who's going to come to me with another challenge who's going to say, well, my challenge is just as difficult and just as disabling as the woman who has lupus. I need this help. And then you can't say yes to everybody. If you did, you'd just do my method, right? We should say yes to everybody and give everybody a tax cut. That's what I think we should do. So I've been reluctant to do that. I recognize the challenges that you face and did face and continue to with the illness that you have. But I also believe that the best way to deal with these issues from a tax perspective is deal with them straight up and honestly. That's to say, taxes are too high for everyone, no matter who we're talking about. And if I'm able to cut taxes 10% like I want to, that 10% inures to your benefit with your challenges and inures to the benefit of everybody else around here who faces their own particular challenges, maybe physically related, maybe with the family situation they have, maybe a tough business situation that they're trying to confront, like the woman in the back who's dealing with a small business. So I just think we should deal with it in that way. So I understand there's some people who feel differently, but for me, I think dealing with lowering taxes for everyone and then managing your budget to only spend what you have to have both. You can't do one or the other. You got to do both. If you do both, that's the way you can really grow the state and make it easier for folks like you to continue to live here and to raise a family here and enjoy your grandchildren here. And I hope you'll do that. Thank you very much. All right, haven't taken a young person yet. He is standing tall. Are you standing on something or are you that tall? Yeah, you right there.
Me? Yeah.
Here he goes.
Hello, my name is Richie.
Look at me over here, brother.
Sorry.
Don't look at the camera. Look at it. He's posing. He's posing for the camera. I love this guy. You have a future. Come here. Come on up here.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. See, because if you want to pose for the cameras, come with me. We'll pose for those back there, all right?
Okay.
All right, so what's your question?
My name is Richie Crydell, and I'm from Haskell, and I go to a Catholic school with my friend Bradley over there, and my mom was telling me about this thing. I don't know what it's called. It slipped from my mind, and it's where you like lowers the prices because we're like struggling.
For Catholic schools.
Yeah.
And other private schools.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called.
The Opportunity Scholarship Act.
Okay, when is that going to come into act?
All right. Well, I got good news and bad news for you. All right. The good news is that I support the Opportunity Scholarship Act, and so do lots of people in the state legislature. The bad news is the Speaker of the Assembly doesn't support it. And she will not post the bill there are votes in the Assembly to pass it, there are votes in the Senate to pass it. The Senate President has said he would post the bill and put it up for a vote if the Assembly did so. And I would certainly sign it if it came to my desk. But Sheila Oliver, the Speaker of the Assembly, simply refuses to post the bill, despite the fact that we have lots of families who are sending their children to private and parochial school, lots of them, even more of them, who want to send their children there because they're in failing public schools. And instead, we spend things like $24,000 a year per student in Newark. Yet, we could spend a fraction of that to send them to a parochial school or private school that's more effective than many of the public schools we have in Newark. And we don't allow people to do that. So the answer is, the bottom line, it's not going to happen this year. I know, man.
Yeah.
Believe me, I feel exactly the same way. But hang in there with me. I'm going to continue to push for it, and hopefully me and you can convince Sheila Oliver that she needs to do the right thing for her constituents and the people of the state and post that bill for a vote, all right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Because if he's going to pose, he might as well pose for the big cameras, right? Good job, buddy. Yeah, he's psyched now. Look at him. It's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to be on TV tonight. All right, I am at the point where I have to ask for last question. Here's the reason why. I have to tell you, it's a sad bit of news for me, but there is, as we sit here right now, and I don't want you to be scared, but there is no adult supervision in Trenton right now. Absolutely none. There is no adult supervision in Trenton right now. I need to get back there and make sure that they do anything any more screwy than they've done already. All right? All right, now this is bad, okay? Because of that last question, and I usually just take like one younger person per town hall meeting, but I see a kindred spirit in the back. I see a fellow suffering New York Mets fan with his Mets jersey back there. And let me just tell you something. This guy handing you a microphone, don't let him fool you. Phillies fan. Lousy, rotten Phillies fan. Right, AJ? Yeah, all right. They're having a good year, huh, AJ? The only thing that makes a Mets fan happier than winning is watching the Phillies lose. So, right? All right, so what's your name and where are you from?
Hi, my name is Frank Simonell. I'm from Mahwah, New Jersey, and I just want to thank you for the letter you sent to Troop 31. I'm in Troop 31, so is my brother.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for the letter that you sent for the 100-year celebration.
Yeah. How was it? Was it fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounded like it was fun. See how pleasant and upbeat and optimistic a Mets fan can be? That's because they didn't play yet today, right? You watched them the last couple of nights? Awful. Oh, it's awful. So that wasn't really a question, so I'll do a real question. But I appreciate the thank you very much, and I was happy to do it. All right. Yes, sir, right in there. Yep, you got it. He's coming around.
Thank you. Hello, Governor Christie. My name's James, and I'm from Mahwah. One day, I'd like to be the governor of New Jersey, and then hopefully the president of the United States.
Hey, baby. Just wait a few years, though, all right? Hang out for a few years. Give me a chance.
Now, before you endorse me and agree to be my vice president, I'd like to know if you have any advice for me based on your own personal experience in public office.
Well, let me be clear. Because we have the press here, I'm giving you no advice on how to become president of the United States. I have no idea how to do that. As for becoming governor, I I'd give you 4 bits of advice, okay? First one is, if you think you want to be involved in politics, make sure that you believe in something first. Remember I was talking about principles before, and what are your core principles and how we find compromise. If you go into government without core principles, you'll be nothing but a compromiser. And you won't stand for anything. And we don't need any more of those. We got plenty of them. Okay, so the inn is full for those kind of people. So first determine what it is you believe in. What is driving you to get into politics and public service? What are the principles or issues you believe in? You got to have those first and develop them inside you so that you can talk about them at a moment's notice. Here are the things I believe in. Here are the things that I think are important. Second, no job should be beneath you if you want to be involved in politics. The only way to learn about this business is to get into it. And nobody gets in at the top except for John Corzine. And then you'd have to have $500 or $600 million, you know, which, I mean, you're a good-looking guy, but I don't think you got $500-600 million on you, right? No. All right.
Not on hand.
Right. So assuming you don't have that, you gotta start and work at whatever level you can get involved with. Work on other people's campaigns. Work for causes that you believe in, like the young woman over here in the green shirt who's working hard on environmental issues. I mean, work for things that you believe in that are about public policy. And you'll get to know more people and they'll get to know you. That's one of the keys to wind up being elected to something. You have to make yourself seen to people and then become a leader among that group. Third thing, if you want to become governor, is to make sure that once you make the decision to go and to run, that you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't do it because someone told you to do it. Don't do it because someone said, now's your only time. Got to run now. You'll have all those people who are geniuses on politics. And the minute you lose, you won't be able to get them on the phone, okay? Go because in your heart you believe it's the right thing for you to do. The fourth bit of advice I'll give you is anticipating, given your level of confidence, that you're going to get there. When you get into the job, there are 2 types of people who hold this job, in my experience. People who want to do something and people who want to be something. Beware of the people and don't be one of the people who just want to be something. You know, I've had lots of titles in my life. U.S. Attorney, now Governor, Freeholder. Before that, and much more importantly and still, is son, husband, father. Those are all more important titles. Some people get into public life and they get wed to the title. They like being called senator, assemblyman, governor, Mr. President. It's great. I don't mind being called governor. But if that's the only reason you're here, you're going to be a failure. You have to do it and be in office to do something, to get something accomplished that helps to make your state a better place. It doesn't mean that everyone's always going to love you. Because when you do something, I guarantee you, you're going to tick a lot of people off. And if you're in this to be popular, only to be popular and have the title, you'll be sorely disappointed. But if you're in it to try to do something, to really do something, then that's the kind of people we need in politics. And so if you really want to do this, remember those 4 things. You do those 4 things, then I believe that you'll have just as much of a chance as I had. Okay? I mean, I grew up in Livingston to middle-class parents who were never involved in politics ever in their lives. We weren't rich. I just worked at it. Got a little lucky, got some breaks here and there because everybody needs them. Have some people who believed in me. And then here you are. And I never take for granted how lucky I am to be here. So work for things that you believe in. Figure out what you believe in. Work for those things. Get to know people, no job beneath you. And then if you eventually get there, you know, make sure you're there to do something, not to be something, all right? Those are my bits of advice for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm keeping an eye on him. Don't necessarily trust. He may not be trying to go a little quicker than I think. Let me conclude with a couple of things real quickly. First is say thank you to all of you for coming. Really important. As I said at the top, to be getting feedback from all of you. I learned a bunch of things today I didn't know before. That's really good. Hopefully I'm going to solve some problems for people that need problems solved. It's one of the best things about this job. I'll tell you a really quick story. Some of you may, on occasion, I don't know if you get it up here or not, listen to my radio program on 101.5, Ask the Governor. It's once a month. It's on tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And I get people calling in with lots of similar problems that what people brought in today. One woman called me a few months ago. She called me about her son who was trying to get a home improvement license. Apparently, I didn't know until then, in New Jersey, you need to be licensed to do home improvements. So he was trying to get his home improvement license from the agency down in Trenton that does that. And he kept talking to the same woman all the time, and she kept saying, next week, next week, next week. And the woman got frustrated. Her son wanted to go out and start working, and he didn't want to do it illegally, so he's waiting for this license. So she called and complained. We got her off the air, and we asked her to give me the name and the phone number of the woman her son had been talking to. So this is like one of the really fun parts of my job. So the next morning, I get into the office, and I call this woman directly. And she answers her phone, and I said, good morning, this is the governor. And she goes, no, it's not. And I said, no, actually it is. This is Governor Christie. And she said to me, I don't know which one of my friends this is, but whoever it is, you do a pretty good impersonation of him. She said, but it's not him. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take down this number. And I gave her my direct dial number at the office. And I said, now when you call this number, after we hang up, I want you to ask for Rosemary. She's going to answer the phone, and then she's going to tell you when you give your name, the governor's been waiting for your call. And then we'll talk. And I hung up. Well, 45 seconds later, the phone rang. Rosemary came in, told me the woman was on the phone, and I answered the phone. I go, well, good morning. And she said, oh my God, it's you. And I said, yes, it is. And I asked her about this home improvement license thing, and she said to me, it's on my desk, Governor. I said, listen, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that this guy's waiting 6-7 weeks for this license. It's crazy. Is all this stuff in? Yes. I said, well, then you need to do it. You need to do it. Please get it done. Tell me you're going to get it done today. She said, I will. And so we reached out to the woman, told her to have her son call, and apparently that day he got his license, which is great, but not the end of the story. About 3 or 4 weeks later, I get a letter from the woman, the mother who called in, thanking me, a thank you note, for getting her son his license. But this is what she said in the letter. She said, my son went down that day and got the license, and the woman you spoke to said to him, if you'd only told me you'd known the governor, this could have gone much more smoothly. So I don't think she immediately got the lesson that I was trying to teach her. But you get to do stuff like that as governor, which is both fun and made this guy's life a little bit better. In expanding on what I said to the last questioner, I want to thank you for giving me the chance to do this job. I never, ever lose the wonder of what it means to be governor for me. And when he gets to do it, I'll be like in the old age home, but he'll come see me, and he'll tell me, I think, something similar to what I'm going to tell you, which is every day when I go down there, I drive up to the State House and I see that gold dome as we get off the highway, and they pull up to the front of the building, and I walk in the front door, and I walk through the door that says Chris Christie, Governor. And I look at it every day, and I just shake my head, and I say, how the hell did this happen? And like tomorrow, if you come down, when the legislature's all in town tomorrow, and you're very quiet, you stand outside my door and you listen down the hallway, you hear the Democrats saying the same thing. How the hell did this happen? Now, of course, they say it for completely different reasons than I'm saying it, but I never lose the wonder of what it's like to have a chance to do this every day. And so I want to thank you for giving me the chance to do it. You gave me a 4-year contract, and I have every intention of fulfilling it and working as hard as I can every day to try to make this state a better place. Like I said before, I'm not looking to be prom king. I'm not looking to be the most popular guy in the world. I'm not looking to have everybody love me. I got plenty of love at home. I don't need any more. If I get it, that's great. But my mother taught me a long time ago that if you have the choice between being loved and being respected, always take being respected. Because out of real respect, true love can come. But love without respect will always fade away. Now, of course, you know she was talking about women when she gave me that advice, but it applies just as equally to politics. You know, if you care about being loved all the time, you know, you'll say yes to everybody. And that's how we got in the shape that we're in. Sometimes I gotta say no. Sometimes I have to say hell no. And sometimes I have to say hell no real loud until they finally get it. But that's my job. You didn't send me there because of my charm and good looks. I think you sent me there because you thought that I might just be stubborn enough and tough enough to get this state that was way off on the wrong track back on the right track and moving forward and making it a place where our children and grandchildren are going to be able to raise their children and their grandchildren. That's what this is really all about. So as I start my fight this summer, I want you to know I'm going to fight and continue to fight for the things that we believe in, for the things that make sense for the future of our state, for the cause of making this state a place where everybody can afford to live and would want to live. And I'm going to stand up and fight for you if you're willing to fight with me. And if you are, we're going to win that fight. And we're going to make sure that we make New Jersey a more affordable, better place for our children and grandchildren than it was when we found it. We've already had a great New Jersey life. We've already had it for most of us. We need to ensure that great New Jersey life for the next generations to come. That's my job. With your help, we'll be able to do it. Thank you very much.